So I think I found some footage.
What kind of footage?
JFK footage. Hello there, parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. I'm your host, Sean Donnelly.
I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
So in this video, we're going to talk about some footage that we found from our trip to Dallas. So it is found JFK related footage. Please don't hate me for the clickbait thumbnail and title, but it is found footage. But before we get into that, if you're into the paranormal history, forensic, and travel type videos,
don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell so you can hear from us next time we post a new video.
So in November of 2012...
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a blast from the past.
Yeah. We went to Dallas, Texas for your...
biology teacher conference.
Biology, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I spent about 3 days in Dealey Plaza. It was an awesome trip. The weather was great, and I was just all over the place talking to people and all kinds of stuff. Which, by the way, we have some other videos that I'm going to link in the cards and down in the description related to JFK and our trip to Dallas. One of which was we did an interview with a gentleman behind the picket fence that was there the day of the assassination, which is pretty interesting. It's called Interview from Behind the Picket Fence. I'll put a link to that. We did a recreation of the Zapruder film.
I had fun with the Zapruder film one.
Yeah.
That was on one of my lunch hours one day.
We did another video called A Few Days in Dealey Plaza, where we talked about that and showed pictures and stuff. We didn't have video cameras back then, but we were able to take video on our photo cameras.
A little snippets.
Wasn't that great? We also have a video about the
time. Come on.
We went and saw the limousine up at the Henry Ford Museum. Put a link to that. And we also put out, Boris put out a Ghost Stories and Folklore about the ghost of JFK. So I'll link to all those videos. What this video is about was, as we were taking a break from the channel and trying to get stuff organized to get back into it, Marianne was going through all of our photos and everything, and you found footage of a tour. We did a trolley tour when we were there in Dallas, and we have some video from it.
Yeah, I think it was actually the first year that they had done that trolley tour in Dallas, and they've been doing it ever since.
Yeah, we checked. They're still open. They still do the tours. The video's not that great. The audio's not that great, but there are some interesting places, and the tour guide was like, was awesome. So we're actually on the trolley recording the tour. There's some cuts. We didn't do the full thing. So
yeah, we want you to go there and get one of those tours as well, because it is amazing. Some
of the places from, the book depository, Texas Book Depository, all the way out to the theater and all places in between. This tour takes you all through that, and it's quite interesting. So, with that being said, if you're still here with us and not mad about our clickbait, it is found footage related to JFK. Footage. Go ahead and watch this, and we'll be back afterwards.
Flagship Neiman Marcus store shut down their doors and allowed their employees to go down to the street. The Dallas Times-Herald was one of the newspapers in 1963. Upon hearing the news of the motorcade, they printed the exact route of the newspaper 3 days before. So the citizens of Dallas could come down here and give the president and his wife a big Texas welcome. The Dallas police did the very best job they could do. They are at every intersection, and they're dispersed throughout this big mob of people. But folks, this was bigger than the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. This was more electric than a Beatles concert. The people of Dallas came down here, hoping, pleading, begging, just to get eye contact or a glimpse of the President and First Lady. They would stand in the street, holding their hands out, screaming, hoping the President would touch them. And every time that the President waves high, that big mob of people push push against that police line and come into the street, slowing the cars down. But if you would have been here Friday, November 22nd, and if you wanted to shoot and kill the President of the United States, it would have been very easy to do. He's going as fast as we're going right now in a mob of people. No way would a politician do this today. But back then, it was a different time. It is now 12:24 p.m., November 22nd. The motorcade is coming right down Main Street of Dallas. At this exact same time, back in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., witnesses being called to testify to the biggest political scandal of the 20th century. Life magazine was one of the top magazines of '63. In their very next issue, the headlines would say this: LBJ and his money. The investigation was, how could a man who's never had a real job before, he's never been in the private sector, he's always been in the public service, outside of his wife money, amass a personal fortune of $15 million. Today, that'd be over $70 million. How did he do it? He never wrote a book. There were no movie rights in those days. So as the motorcade is right here, coming down Main Street, people cheering, screaming, confetti falling, this is the lowest point of the vice president's political career. Now, President Kennedy, he knew of the investigation going on in Washington. And even though he said publicly many times that LBJ would still be on the ticket in '64, Washington insiders knew that LBJ was going to be taken off the ticket in '64. The Kennedys no longer needed him. The relationship between the Kennedys and LBJ, it can be described with one word: hate. They hated each other. The Kennedys had humiliated LBJ. Before becoming vice president, LBJ, he is a very powerful man in Washington. He is the Senate Majority Leader. He is the juggernaut of the Democratic Party, and he desperately wanted to be president. He ran against Kennedy in 1960 for the Democratic nomination. He was the favorite. He thought, there's no way that some young kid from Massachusetts can beat me. But he did get beat. So we all know that LBJ was sworn in as president on November 22nd. You know what happened to that investigation back in Washington? You know what happened to that very next issue of Life magazine after LBJ is sworn in? That investigation is completely stopped. That article never sees the light of day. And this scandal will not be heard from again for another 2 decades. So the motorcade continues. There's even more people down here now. There's an extra lane, there's more room. The motorcade goes down to Houston Street and takes a right. Today, Houston Street is a one-way right there. So we have to turn 1 block early to get you right back on the route. So the motorcade wasn't decided upon until November the 15th. Now they need to figure out where they're going to have the fundraiser luncheon here in Dallas. The Kennedys want to have it held at the Women's Youth Building located in Fair Park. Governor Connolly, he wants to have it held at the Trademark. He said, guys, let's do it at the Trademark. It's on the way back to the airport. It's easier. They actually debated about this. And then finally, Connolly, he throws his hands up. He goes, look, fellas, if we don't do it at the Trademark, I'm out. So the Kennedys gave in, and it was set to be held at the Trademark. You see, President Kennedy, he really trusted Governor Connolly. Before becoming governor of Texas, John Connolly, he served under President Kennedy as his Secretary of the Navy. And as governor of Texas, John Connolly, he had 81% approval rate. In politics, folks, that's unheard of. That means everybody loves you. So JFK really trusted Governor Connolly. And Governor Connolly was the architect of the entire Texas trip. Except for one thing. The motorcade. Governor Connolly said, do not do a motorcade to Dallas, Mr. President. It will tire you out. We need you fresh for the fundraiser. You make more money when you're fresh. You see, the president's health is not very good. His back is in bad shape. And on November 22nd, President Kennedy is wearing a very thick corset and ace bandages wrapped in a figure 8 all around his body. is to keep his back straight. So over at the trade lines are 2,600 men and women dressed in their finest clothes, awaiting the arrival of the president. 2,600 steak dinners have been prepared, and the president is going to select his steak at random. You hear that siren? Get that in your head. That was the sound for most of the day right there. So the street right ahead of us, that is Houston Street. The motorcade turns left on the Elm in the exact same lane you're in right now. The building to the right here on this corner, that is the Texas Common Depository in the 6th floor. Up ahead on the right, that's the grassy knoll and the picket fence. And directly ahead, that's the triple underpass. That is the end of the route. And here is where the shots rang out. President Kennedy has been shot. Governor Connally has also been hit. The 35th president, John F. Kennedy, is now dead. The motorcade picks up speed and rushes President Kennedy to Parkland Hospital, 3.5 miles north of 35 in that direction. Dealey Plaza is now in confusion and chaos. People follow police up the grassy knoll for the picket fence, as witnesses say they heard shots coming from over there. The police storm up the building of the Texas Common Depository because liberty to one of communism. Oswald defected from the United States to Soviet Russia. While he's over in Russia, he meets a woman named Marina, and he marries her. And after a few years, they come back to America, and they settle right here in Dallas-Fort Worth. In the spring of 1963, Oswald opens American Rifle magazine, and he sees an advertisement from Klein Sporting Goods out of Chicago, Illinois, and he orders 2 guns. The first is a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver. That's a pistol. The other is a 6.5 millimeter Italian-made Carcano rifle with a scope. When ordering these guns, Oswald doesn't use his real name. He uses an alias, A. Heidel. Well, I don't know about Australia, but in America, you can't get guns like that today. But in 1963, you could send them a fake name and a money order, and you had weapons on your doorstep. Oswald was very sympathetic to the communist way of life. He thought that capitalism was a fraud, and it needed to be overturned. Well, in 1963, right here in Dallas, there were many right-wing groups. Oswald thought it was his duty to spy on the enemy. So he goes to some of these right-wing meetings, and he meets a man there named General Edwin Walker, who's an advocate against communism. On April the 10th, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald stalks General Walker to his home at night, and he fires a bullet from that Italian-made rifle. He tries to kill the general. Investigators say the only reason that bullet missed its target is because those older homes had very thick panes, just enough to deflect that bullet. Oswald fearing he would get caught, he moved his family back to his birthplace in New Orleans, where he joins the Fair Play for Cuba Committee. He passes out some flyers on a street corner, and he gets arrested for disturbing the peace. His wife Marina said, "That's it. I've had enough of this." She comes back to Texas, the suburb of Dallas called Irving. And on October the 14th, 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald rents a room from a rooming house on the street you're on right now. It is now 1 p.m. November 27th. CBS newsman Walter Cronkite interrupts television programming and says these words to the world. President John F. Kennedy has been shot and killed in the streets of Dallas, Texas. Those police are now here. There's a 3-mile area downtown. So all these roads you see now have police cars roaring up and down them. Sirens blaring. Woo, woo. Like that siren earlier. That's the scene for the rest of the day. They also put out a description of what they're looking for, given by witnesses at Dealey Plaza. Be on the lookout for a white male, brown hair, approximately approximately 5'10", 165 pounds. Could be armed, could be dangerous. Oswald was in his taxi. He told Mr. Waiter to take him to the 500 block of North Beckley. Well, folks, that is actually 5 blocks past where he really wants to go. He doesn't want the taxi driver to know where he's staying and have to find him again later. He backtracked to his rooming house. Probably just drove past this house right here on the left. 1026. It is 1:01 p.m. when Oswald walks right through that door right there. And folks, that house looks exactly like it did that day. Except now there's an SUV in the driveway. He's only in that house for 1 minute. Comes out here to the curb, there was no bus stop, and then he goes back in the exact same direction he just came from. Look at that little house, folks. On November 22nd, there are 16 renters. 10 rooms upstairs, 6 below in the basement. The Warren Commission was the first. Rockefeller did one. The House of Lincoln and Assassinations has done one in the latter 70s. And many independent ones have been done. Did you know the Discovery Channel spent 10 years and millions of dollars and went down to Australia and did a complete reenactment? And the reason why I tell you this is because where I'm taking you next, there are many different routes to get there. From that rooming house to where we're going. So no investigator knows the exact route Oswald took. However, it has been walked on all the different routes time after time, and it takes approximately 11 minutes by foot to get to where we're going. You see, folks, when you're trying to solve a crime, time, that's the glue that puts the pieces together. And this was the biggest crime of the 20th century. Like I said, no investigator knows which one of these roads here Oswald took to get to where we're going. But today, I'm going to take you on the exact route of a key eyewitness to this next scene. As we make our turn on this next street right up here, it's called Denver Street. I want you to look at the houses. Look at the houses on both sides of the street. With the exception of the automobiles and the garbage cans, folks, you are in 1963. These are the houses that were here that day. These are the neighborhoods. Look at these alleys right here on both sides of the trolley. Texas has a lot of alleyways. These are the neighborhoods Oswald is making his way through. So that key eyewitness I'm referring to, it's a man named Jack Tatum. And on November 22nd at 1:14 p.m., just 44 minutes after the president was shot, Jack Tatum is in his automobile driving down Denver Street just as you are right now. He comes up to the four-way stop. He puts on his turn signal. And as Jack Tatum makes the turn on the 10th Street, he sees a white male on the left sidewalk walking in that direction. Simultaneously sees a Dallas police car turning and coming up the street in this direction. And when that police car makes its turn, that white male turns around and starts walking the opposite way. On the left side of the trolley, you're going to see a telephone pole. And out in front of that telephone pole on the street, on the curb, are the numbers 404. That's where we're going to be looking, right there. 404. So Jack Tatum's in his car. He comes up to this intersection right here in front of the trolley and he stops. And everything I'm going to tell you, he witnesses in his rear view mirror. Now there were 7 eyewitnesses to this. I'm going to tell you about 2, and Jack Tatum's the first. So this Dallas policeman is coming around the corner. His name is J.D. Tippett. And he has very good reason to stop and talk to the guy walking. Because one, he matched the description put out by police on the radio. And 2, it's kind of suspicious that when he would come around the corner, that this guy would turn around and start walking the other way. So back in 1963, they had vent windows in the automobiles. You guys remember those? They were triangle and shaped. They swiveled, letting air in. This was open in Officer Tippett's police car. Now, no one knows what was said, but I imagine it goes something like this. Tippett pulls him over. He says, "What's your name and where are you going?" Oswald, with his hands to his side, he leans over and he answers Tippett through that vent window. Then Officer Tippett opens up the car door to his police car. And he steps onto the street. And as he makes his way to the front of that car, Oswald takes 2 steps back and to the right. Just as Tippett gets to the front of the car, Oswald reaches from under that light-colored jacket, pulls out his .38 caliber Smith & Wesson, and he shoots Officer Tippett 3 times. Boom, 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 and he falls right there. Now you would expect Oswald to run. 7 people just saw him do this in daylight, but he doesn't run. He just starts walking. Then he stops. Then he comes from behind the police car, walks up the middle of the street, and he stands over Tippett, and he puts 1 more bullet right in his head. Then he opens up the chamber to his gun, he takes out all 4 of those shell casings, and he tosses them into a nearby bush. Then Oswald takes off on a jog, right at Jack Tatum's car. But Jack Tatum said he got very nervous. He put his car in drive. He said Oswald came within 10 or 15 feet in, and he'll never forget the look on Oswald's face. He said it was a smirk, almost a smile. The other eyewitness I'm going to tell you about his name is Domingo Benavides, and he was in his pickup truck, parked right about where that white car is. And he wanted to help, but he was afraid. So he waited for the gunman to leave. When he thought it was safe, he got out of his truck, he walked over, and he saw the officer's been shot. Killed. And then Benavides does something. He reaches into that police car, and he grabs the radio, and he says these exact words. "Hello, hello, hello. An officer just got shot. I think he's dead." Headquarters says, "What is your location?" He gives 404 10th Street. Then they ask him the police car number, and he replies with number 10. That's how the police know it's Tippett so fast. Since the police were called into the area, they're here quick. They're doing their investigations, and then Benavides does something else. He reaches into his pocket, he pulls out a pack of Winston cigarettes, and he goes over to that bush. He picks up a stick and collects all 4 of those shell casings and puts them in that Winston pack. He thought the police might need them, and he was right, they did. But right there, folks, is very, very brave and courageous. Dallas policeman lost his life to the Harvey Oswald. Next week, we're putting up a memorial right here. And that's what I was telling you about, putting up some neuter digging right here. Memorial for Officer Tippett. It's about time, huh? That would be worth over $100,000. So here's the scene. All these streets you see right here. Police cars roaring up and down them. Sirens blaring. Woo, woo. They're looking for a cop killer as Oswald slinks his way up that right sidewalk. Oswald doesn't want to be seen. Every time he sees or hears a police car, he slips in and out of those stores. But that's the wrong thing to do today. There's no one is shopping. Everyone's watching television. Or they're standing out front, watching all the police cars go by. The only people in those stores are the employees, and they too are watching television. He slips into that alcove right there. Johnny Brewer, the sales guy, sees Oswald. He matches the description he just saw on television, and Oswald is acting very suspicious. Oswald's on here for a moment, comes out that sidewalk, and goes up here to the Texas Theater. And folks, the Texas Theater looks exactly like it did that day. They still show movies there. Johnny Brewer, the sales guy, he leaves the store unattended, and he follows Oswald up that sidewalk. Folks, Johnny Brewer is very lucky he did not get shot. Julie Postal, she is the ticket girl working at the Texas Theater. She's standing out front, watching all the police cars go by. Oswald slips right past her and into those right-hand doors. It's, say, 231 at the bottom. So Miss Postal never sees Oswald. But guess who does? Johnny Brewer, the sales guy. He says, "Miss Postal, he didn't pay for a ticket. He looks very suspicious. Call police." Within minutes, the police are right here. Gerald Hill, he's the lead policeman this day. He goes up to the balcony thinking that's where bad guy's going to be. But Oswald is not there. Then Gerald Hill hears a scuffle break out downstairs. It takes 7 Dallas policemen to restrain Oswald. They find his .38 caliber on his person. And when they get the handcuffs on him, he says these words. "This is it. This is not America. This is police brutality, not nothing I'm ashamed of." At this point, folks, the police think they only have a cop killer. They don't know. two were connected. This arrest happened at 1:50 p.m., an hour and 20. So there are over 100 reporters on the other side of that door. You know why? This is being broadcast on live television across the country and the world, man. Did you see it down there in Australia? Yeah. So Oswald's on the 3rd floor, coming down the elevator to that basement. He's going to be in the open 15 seconds. Very short window. Jack Ruby, he's at the Western Union at 11:17 a.m. The manager there said he wasn't even in a hurry. Let's give Ruby 2 minutes to get here. That's 11:19. Let's give him 1 more minute to get down that ramp, 11:20. Here comes Oswald in the open. It's perfect time. Ruby sees him, goes, Oswald, he sticks that gun in his gut and he fires. Oswald immediately collapses to the ground. Now the Dallas police are wrestling Jack Ruby to the ground, and when they do, he starts talking. He says, I'm just doing what you guys couldn't do. I told you I wasn't a soft Jew. Now they got to get Oswald to the hospital. And irony of all ironies, they take Oswald to the exact same hospital President Kennedy was taken 2 days before Parkland. Folks, this was the first ever murder to unfold on live television. Lee Harvey Oswald was 24 years old, and he was shot and killed in cold blood by Jack Ruby right on the other side of that door. So there's Ben.
There you go. If you're in Dallas, look them up.
Absolutely. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and take that tour. If we go back, we're going to do it again.
Absolutely.
With better cameras.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Till next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting. Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting.